Yo, well, not the sell that I was looking for, obviously. There was a few things that right away just didn't feel right about it. Number one, and I always recognize this feeling, but I have trouble acting on it, is when I start to get overly confident that I know exactly what's going to happen, and I don't even entertain, basically the other direction of whatever it is. That is like I even realized it last night. I was like, oh, I feel a little too confident. Like I'm almost counting my, stacks of cash before the market's even opened. Kind of just laughing, thinking I know what's going to happen. But yeah, there was a few things that were just, didn't sit well. One thing being, and I did mention it in the video too, as far as shorts, again, that's what we're talking about, because I was saying finally I'd been long basically for months, or I'd been long biased, and I finally saw this top coming. So I was very excited from what I had seen, but we squeezed higher. But yeah, one thing that I had said that, would throw me off a little bit is if we took this range, if we took these levels in a session that wasn't New York. Basically, yeah, from what I had said, I did not want to see these session or this level, specifically 73.47. That was kind of the high of the range that I was looking at. I did not want to see that get taken in a session that was not New York, because to me, that would have started to invalidate it. Yeah, we actually went to the very top of this projection that I had, which was initially just 5 standard deviation, 73.63. I said above there I didn't really feel good about shorts at all. Or I said that on X today. But I said, yeah, below 73.73, because a little bit into the session that we might have a bit of a flash crash. And I was just anticipating basically, yeah, we got a little overextend the session, but, that's what happens when we're at all-time highs and we're topping. Nothing's going to be perfectly in line with any level that you are gunning for, because usually the move is going to be a capitulation of one side. And that's what creates the significant top or bottom. So you just don't know how long those capitulation events could go. So yeah, I was still, I wasn't in love with what happened overnight. I was a little annoyed, but I was still looking for shorts for sure. And I actually ignored the very obvious long. That was literally my own strategy from right at open, right here. So we see, I just ignored this again because I was so short biased, which is another good lesson to not do that. You should always be of the mentality of, kind of if this, then that. So if this happens, then I will do this. So even though I, planned out a short idea, or sorry, not short idea, a squeeze idea Monday night where I held longs overnight and caught a good chunk of that squeeze. I planned that out literally on the weekend, thinking that that's what might happen. But it was still in my mind. I was still like, I don't know if it'll for sure happen, but I knew if levels held, that was my plan. If these levels held, that's what I would do. And that I actually executed beautifully. I literally did exactly what I had planned. And I knew in my head when I was watching it, I said, if this level fails, that was 72.12, it had wick below there. But if it continued to accept below there, I was not looking at any squeezes and looking for it to balance lower or come down lower. So yeah, I ignored that kind of mentality today. I was just only thinking about shorts, and I was still thinking of all the ways it could still be kind of a top day, a short day, one that had like a big limit down, and I ignored my own strategy right at market open that happened. What do we have here? So I'll go on NQ, market out, market open. So key open, New York open, the most key open, SMT right there. You see this 5 a.m. I mean, for me, it'll say 3 a.m., but that low, lower low, that low, higher low. So right away, map out standard deviation. I'll just delete it and redo it so you can see. Map it out. You take from the last 5-minute swing high to low on the manipulation leg that created the SMT there. That would be NQ. So you make sure I got that even. Yeah, there we go. So we see initial reaction at 2 standard deviation. After all this chop, that's initial balance. So the main thing is that it actually held the halfway of this manipulation. So that's really good. That's what you want to see. If you're worried about this chop, kind of, as long as you see this area holding, then this manipulation for higher is still valid. Eventually, we see a break of initiation out of that balance. And then we see the 2 standard deviation react, which is good. And then we see 2.5 give the initial rejection, which that lines up with when ES first took London highs. And then sure enough, it held. It was a little bit of a struggle to hold that level, but it held. Baited shorts again, and that, I was involved at shorts. I saw a seller at 73.73. I was in at 73.70 about, and then I even double dipped and took NQ as well. So I had a really good entry on ES, not as good of an entry on NQ. Me just thinking that I'm gonna be rich today after this. And yeah, it starts to sell off. I got very excited in this. Again, I'm ignoring this. I don't have any of this mapped out because I was just not even looking for buys. And on order flow there was a seller that appeared right at where was it, 73.70. So here we go, cash up in yeah, 73.73 right here. So you see probably some stop outs there, and then 185 lots sold. And then you see stacked imbalances right here, 118 to 13, 150 26 right after, and then some even more lower there. And then price comes back up. This is where I get involved because I see it reject. I see, again, some zeros at the highs, so that's good. Sellers are not letting anything happen above. They're just filling for below. And they take it down. And this should have been my first sign that this was not going to be easy, and that, I should reconsider the fact that today might not be a big sell day. Because we see an initial dump and then immediate rebalance. Immediately, like there's a large amount of orders that catch it. And then here I mark out this box is literally just like lunch range kind of that I mark out usually, because I've noticed that range kind of the first 10 minutes before and after lunch hour, or sorry, like first 10 minutes leading up to lunch hour and first 10 minutes in, I mark out that range right there. And then I did it on both, you can see. And usually a break, retest, and fail, or break above, retest, and rebid will result in like another trend move if one has not developed already beforehand. So if I'm not in a position already, then I look for that as another possible entry model. And this is where right away I should have realized that I needed to get out of my shorts, and instead of hold them to almost break even. Well, I actually took a loss on NQ. I took a small win on ES, so it ended up being, I think I was still down like 400, and then I took longs way higher, just to essentially get almost all my money back, and then I tried shorting one more time like an idiot, and I just shook my head at myself today after all that, in hindsight 2020. But look right here, we have from an order flow perspective, again, heavy sells into the lows. No follow through though. This is at this point you'd want to see price stay below here. You'd want to see, here we go, heavy selling starting. But instead we see, the volume picks up, heavy selling. Look at that, 1.3K lots, more sells than buys. Immediately price rebalances, and you see the divergence right there is still in the negative on the delta, but we have price finishing green, both these candles. Same thing with here. It was just in the negative on this candle on the delta, and both finishes green. So there's the delta divergence that you also look for in a trend reversal, or just reversal in general. Then after that, it was just buys. It was all buys. No matter what sellers tried, you'd see a lot of these red bubbles here attempting to make new lows, and they just didn't even have a chance. This is where I got a little bit involved. I tried one more short and thinking like, okay, this is probably around the high of day. I don't even know what confluences I was using at that point. I think I just liked the sell orders that came in, thinking, there's some aggressive selling. This is finally it. Again, I'm still, married to my bias as well, which is not good. I was not doing a if this, then. If I had done that, I would have noticed that, we ripped through my level overnight, which is not a good look, and then come back and actually held it. 73.20, 73.30 area. Just going back, like this area right here, I would have wanted to see a break below 73.24 quickly for sells to be valid, but yeah, it did not. So that was just an error in judgment on my part as far as not reading the tape in the moment and just being too in love with the idea of catching a top and catching a big sell day. It'll definitely come, but it'll come when it's ready, and the market it'll tell you. But right now it's still in the mode of just absolutely erasing shorts from the market. So we actually see from that mark out on the standard deviation from the SMT in the morning right there on the key open, each level, yeah, just holds perfectly. Yeah, so you see reject off there. That was what I marked out earlier on order flow. After ES hit the highs, we see that seller come in, and then NQ along with it rejecting, and there's an SMT, so it's a good look. But yeah, then after that divergence and rebalance after big sells into lows, that should have been it for any attempts to sell for me. And yeah, after that, it was just a clean trend up. You see a little bit of friction around the 3.5, and that's where some more sellers came in the mix. And then as we hit these levels, this is just after hours. Market hits these as earnings hit. So you can't really rely on any price action after hours when the volume drops to like nothing compared to close. And then you also have earnings as well. But sure enough, it stops 4.5 standard deviation. It's my favorite reversal point. This is way too late after hours, so I can't trade it. Naturally, love that with this market. Just loves to do that. Make it really just impossible for you to catch kind of highs and lows. Or, it gives you one right in the morning, but it's not going to let you know that until way later. You're going to have to deal with a bunch of chop and a bunch of, oh shit, oh, maybe I should exit kind of thing before finally in the afternoon you get just this afternoon delivery. But yeah, so what am I looking at now? Yeah, I have not abandoned all hope for sells, that's for sure. Today was one of those days, especially in the afternoon, as a trader, where you just felt the market really just could only go one direction. It was just that clean trend in the afternoon. Basically, any sell attempt was sold. So anytime you jumped in with some aggressive sellers, you were probably about to get dunked on right away. But that is, look how vertical it goes. NQ goes at the end here. This is what it looks like at the end of a blow off top. I added the 6 standard deviation to this projection. I rarely have to do that, but in this case, this might be it. On SPX 2, we are above. So that initial rejection, that was a good look, but then look, we just gap up and we're shooting up. But this whole range here, all the way from 7,200 to 7,485 is, again, it's a macro TR pocket. And I care more about SPX being in the TR pocket and then eventually rejecting than I do with ES, with futures, just because futures are sometimes more volatile than the actual indice. And the ranges, because of contract rollovers and stuff, are just not as consistent when you're looking on a macro basis. We did have a rollover as well, kind of in the middle of what the projection that I made for this macro TR pocket. So on SPX, I still view us as in a rejection range, but if you look at that box, like, it's a big box. It's a big range, 7,200 all the way up to 7,480 essentially. This is a lot of room for rejection. However, given what I'm seeing right now, I think with the news cycle, it's NFP week. NFP could really do it. I think, I don't like the idea of like us rejecting on NFP day. That just seems too obvious. A lot of times on these big data days, the market is actually often muted because there's so many trades in the mix, from options to futures, that the market makers end up benefiting the most, just literally keeping price muted and chopping. So tomorrow being Thursday, generally the day before NFP is not a great day to trade. However, I will be looking still for a significant rejection because I still think we have, what do we have tomorrow? Unemployment claims, 6:30. You know, I mean, that's just a lead up to NFP as well, non-farm employment change. I mean, then unemployment rate as well, also very important. But yeah, so still things that could happen, but but ideally, you know, that is all for naught compared to Iran. No. So I'll be very interested to see if we actually don't make any new highs or anything overnight over London, if this entire overnight session is used just to rebalance this range right there. You know, if we get honestly anywhere close to 570, you know, I have kind of 580 listed as that was the initiative buyer breaking out of this range. So if we get anywhere close to there, I might actually take buys up to the highs, because I'm still viewing if we're going to experience a sell day, New York is going to get the sell. They're going to get the high or the low. So yeah, it would be very interesting to me to see us just spend the entire overnight period just rebalancing in here, and then finally coming up for New York session, just barely peaking above, and then ripping down from there. And then NFP, if anything, just adding to the sell. You know, if there's a bad report for NFP, just again, yeah, adding to the sell side on that front. But yeah, so Trump just continues to edge along a deal that seems just forever fleeting. I don't know, you know, anytime he says something is about to happen or will happen, Iran comes out essentially calling him crazy and saying they, you know, haven't heard from him, or, you know, they've, you know, whatever he said, they're like, oh, we're not aware of that, you know, any of this. So again, no surprise, just blatant market manipulation. He's just pumping this market on an endless hope that there will be some deal with Iran. At the end of the day, NFP, earnings, unemployment rate, you know, that is all just gasoline. The fire itself is the Strait of Hormuz, and if that thing stays closed, it's already stayed closed way too late. So the ripple of effects will eventually start hitting us, and that's when this market will start to hit reality, because it'll realize, you know, all the shorts will be burned, and then it'll start to take into account just really how screwed up the global economy has become. But for right now, yeah, we're just moving higher on the edging this supposed deal. But I think soon enough, it's not going to be like an idea of or a release saying, oh, there's no deal. It's going to be a complete 180 to, instead of Trump saying he's you know, getting close to deal, he's going to say something like, you know, unfortunately, it's escalated to a point where we need to essentially put boots on the ground. I think, and then that'll be the day to be in shorts for sure. Anyways, I don't want to ramble on too long, but yeah, unhappy with my performance today, and just missing out on clear and obvious squeeze. Being too married to sell side, being too married to one side, never a good idea. As always, as a trader, you should endeavor to only be like, have plans essentially. Paul Tudor Jones, you know, he maps out, he said in the past, he maps out in after hours in the evening kind of what he imagines based on what he saw during that day. So he'll map out kind of, if this level holds, then I'll do this. If this level doesn't hold, then I'll do this. So that is all fine to have plans for what you will do if certain things happen, but to have kind of a perfect, you know, oh, this is exactly what's going to happen, is not a good idea. And today reminded me why exactly. So yeah, the sell's coming, but it'll come when it's ready. Do not try and front run it, especially in this market. We're almost through the big chunk of tech earnings that have just been like pumping NQ. Again, like the NQ on close was actually a huge move, whereas ES, it was like almost negligible. And yeah, again, don't forget YM is nowhere close to all-time highs. So still some sus things about this market. Obviously this whole move up is sus, but yeah, wait for just kind of more of a limit down day to switch your bias. I'm gonna wait for mega proof that the seller is in control after seeing a day like today. Because yeah, you do not want to get caught trying to short on the wrong side of a squeeze. It is an absolute nightmare. All right, take care. Bye.